Rank-and-file Oklahoma legislators call it a horrible way to govern. Even those in leadership admit reform would be welcome. Tonight, our Oklahoma Impact team investigates a tool lawmakers use, some say abuse, to pass critical and sometimes controversial pieces of legislation in the final hours of the session. Here's Alex Cameron.
It's called a conference committee. You may be familiar with the phrase. Conference committees can be used legitimately to work out differences between House and Senate versions of bills. But they can also be used not so legitimately to put things in bills that weren't part of any version, may benefit only a few people, and with the knowledge of only a few people.
I declare the bill to have passed.
In the chaos of the last day of the 2010 session, among the many bills lawmakers approved, were two that would have created a new $80,000 transition coordinator position in the medical examiner's office. Governor Henry vetoed the bill, saying the position and expense couldn't be justified. And Oklahoma County DA David Prater launched an investigation, saying there was evidence a handful of lawmakers conspired to create the coordinator job so that one of them could take it and another could run for her vacated Senate seat.
The recent allegations of public corruption are completely ridiculous.
All claim innocence, but innocent or not, the question is, how did the legislation get through in the first place?
I can entirely see how something like that passed and folks didn't think a thing of it.
Representative Ryan Kiesel says it's hard to monitor the content of bills that get assigned to a conference committee, as these did, because most of the committees don't actually meet.
Oklahomans should not mistake the word committee in that name as a meeting of individuals that come together. No, it's a piece of paper that has signature lines on it.
Getting signatures on a majority of those lines is all that's needed for a bill to get out of conference committee. There's no hearing, no public comment. Kiesel says a legislator could insert significant new language into his or her bill, and then when asking conferees to sign off on the changes, just say, "Trust me."
And sometimes you can, and as it's turned out this legislative session, and I'm sure in past incidences as well, you can't.
The conference committee process totally circumvents the idea of a legislative body.
Representative Mike Reynolds says it's absolute insanity, especially the last 2 days of session when the rule requiring a 24-hour wait before bills can be considered goes away, and conference bills start coming fast and furious.
And you have 5 minutes to read a 100-page bill, as if anybody does, and that people just say, "Trust me," and we vote on them, and that's where the worst legislation occurs.
In the final week of session this year, the House took up 183 bills, compared to 50, 22, and 35 the 3 weeks prior. They handled 86 bills the last 2 days alone. One of them, House Bill 2359, was first introduced in February as a simple two-pager to clear up language on the Teacher Retirement Fund. In conference, it was changed completely, re-emerging as an inch-thick $80 million sales tax measure that Reynolds says the full legislature should have been given time to read and debate.
The first time it was ever published publicly was at 1:47, I think, 1:45 in the afternoon on the last day of session. A 100-page bill, never seen the language before, brought up for a vote an hour later, brought up for a vote in the Senate 13 minutes before they had to legally adjourn.
It passed easily. Lawmakers say the current system makes it virtually impossible for even the most diligent among them to cast informed votes at the end of session.
I have 3 master's degrees. I cannot comprehend all that information. I'm educated, but it comes too fast.
But D.A. Prater says that's exactly what some count on. He says a lobbyist confronted him recently, angry because his investigation threatened to end the end-of-session chaos lobbyists rely on, and saying they like the lack of transparency.
Yeah, this lobbyist said, well, that's actually good because, it's good for my clients because the lawmakers that we work with can get the language inserted into those bills and we can get them through the process without anyone knowing that language is in there.
In a statement for this story, outgoing House Speaker Chris Benj defended the conference committee process and reforms he put in place, but acknowledged the arguments surrounding it are, quote, both legitimate and ever-evolving. The outgoing leader of the Senate told us the process is more transparent now than ever and says he's not aware of any attempts to slip anything through this session.
I would say when I first came here, I saw some of that. I think there was very little of that occurs now.
But those not in leadership say it does occur, and the only defense is to stay vigilant and try to spot suspicious language.
It's like playing Where's Waldo. Which, I suppose is fun for your kids in the backseat on a long car trip, but it's not a good way to run your state government.
Prater tells us if nothing else comes of his investigation, he hopes it brings light to this practice of inserting new language into bills at the last minute for someone's personal profit, and he hopes to bring it to an end. For Oklahoma Impact, I'm Alex Cameron.
The man designated to be the next Speaker of the House, State Representative Chris Steele, told us he's already planning to make big changes in the conference committee process.
I think the conference committees should actually meet, for starters, and that actual votes should be taken. Discussion should occur, debate should ensue.
Steele says that he would like the 24-hour rule to apply throughout the session, not go away the last couple of days. And he plans to form a committee to look at how other states handle the conference committee process. The Oklahoma Impact team will track any potential changes. And if you have something to say about this issue, click on this story at newson6.com. You'll see a link to contact your lawmakers and a forum where you can tell us how you feel.